At this time, I'd like to call on Pete and Hope, if they're here, please. Please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We've got the privilege, we have some of our City of Monroe Youth Council members here. We have some that went on our recent trip to the NLC conference in Washington, D.C. in March. And as we do each year, we just like to bring those up. The ones that went on the trip come and maybe share a minute or two about their experience. Each of you have a packet of letters, thank you letters, from those individuals that went on a trip in front of you. Everybody except for Rajiv, I don't think I've got one for you in there. But very appreciative, and at this time I'd like to call Taylor and Kaylee up. They went on our trip, and Nadia went on our trip. We do have a couple other members here, but you know, these kids are outstanding kids. We have roughly 32 to 36 members on the Monroe Youth Council from, I think we have 8 different high schools represented now. Just a fantastic group of kids that volunteer at every city event and activity. We do have some other members. If you all could stand up as well, that would be great. We meet monthly, and these kids do such an outstanding job of representing the city, representing themselves, and representing their schools and their families. And I just like to bring those to your attention, and especially the 3 that went to D.C. And if you'd like to ask them a question about their trip or ask for them to share something that highlighted their trip, I think that would be in order, sir.
That would be nice.
I think it'd be good, yes.
Highlight.
So, everyone first, yes. Tell them your name, tell them your school, and tell them what you thought about the trip.
I'm Taylor Babb. I'm a junior at Union Academy, and it was actually the first time I flew, which was an amazing experience. And I met a lot of really interesting people there. They're all smart, intelligent. At the NLC Youth Conference that we participated, we got to look at certain issues in societies and create policies and how to put that into effect. And that was really a great experience, learning the process on how to do that. I also enjoyed all the memorials we went to, and a lot of information that I retained from that.
When you was there, how many other cities had youth councils there? Do you know right off by chance?
I know there was one other from North Carolina in Fayetteville, but I don't know the overall.
Okay, but there were several youth councils there across the United States.
Yes, several states, yeah.
Okay, very good.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Tollison, and I'm a junior at CATA. And this was actually my first time going on a trip with the Youth Council and my first time going to Washington, D.C. So getting to experience all of the memorials and monuments, and getting to spend all day Saturday going around from the Washington Monument to the Abraham Lincoln Memorial. Just seeing all of these sites in person and actually realizing, you know, how much they mean to America. It was just mind-blowing. And getting to experience the NLC conference and the youth conference, it blew my mind how much the youth can actually impact a community. Before this, I really only thought that, you know, city council members could make a big difference in the community, but getting to see all of the issues that are affecting communities all across the country, not just in North Carolina, and how much the youth can make a difference and spread awareness about it really blew my mind. And getting to hold a mock caucus and actually seeing how that works and how the states get to put in their, you know, their votes on who they want to be in office was really amazing.
You see, you get to experience any outstanding people, any outstanding speakers?
We had Anna, I always forget how to say her last name.
I couldn't.
Anna from CNN and CNN Espanol, and she was the general speaker at the NLC conference overall. She did a great job speaking. She taught me a lot about what's going on in our country today, and just hearing everyone speak, it was really inspiring.
How about federal speakers? He sent out the federal government?
I don't remember.
Who'd you have your picture made with? Nobody?
No, sir.
I thought you had.
Oh, Richard Burr, that's right.
Senator.
Yes, at the Capitol building.
On the Capitol building. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think that's good, very good. So you had a good experience,
I did. I had an amazing experience.
okay?
Hi, my name is Nadia Faison, and I am a sophomore at Monroe High School. And my experience was amazing because I'm a newer member to the council, and this was also my first trip. And I think it was cool to like meet the people on our council because I don't know that many people on the council. And it was also really cool to meet other people from other cities and talk about their youth councils and how they're trying to develop their other councils, which is really cool. And it's really like eye-opening to how developed we are as a council because other people are just now starting to build up our youth council, and we've kind of been around for a long time, which is really cool. And I also liked how we talked about problems that people usually overlook, like our opinions. And it was really cool, like getting together and talking about our opinions and like trying to figure out ways to solve it, which is really cool.
Met a lot of people,
Yes, a lot of people. I still like in contact with people from other cities.
a lot of work. You had a lot of work to do? Meetings, had some meetings?
Yeah, we kind of meet in little
Okay.
groups.
Yeah, well, good. Let me say this as youth council. Y'all have represented the city well, not only this year, but the councils in the past have always represented the city of Monroe well. You folks do such a great job, and this is not a free trip. These folks work for this in various different things around the city. They work at the art festivals, they work at the car shows, they work at the air shows. They earn this, but they also, we want to give them the opportunity to go out and meet these folks, not only in Washington, but other cities. When they go to Washington, they meet with the National League of Cities where they anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 or 5,000 people there. And so you meet a lot of different dignitaries, see a lot of different people, and I'm not going to spread this out for 3 or 4 hours, but it's a great thing that the youth council does for the city, not only representing the city of Monroe here in the city, but represents the city of Monroe all the way across the United States. They meet people from various cities, large cities, small cities, and wherever. So thank y'all for what you do, and thank you for what you've done in the past.
Mayor, if I could have our other 3 members come up and introduce themselves.
Absolutely.
If that's okay.
Absolutely.
Please.
Hi, I'm Rachel Phillips from Pima High School. I'm a freshman.
I'm a sophomore. My name is Marianne, and I go to Monroe High.
And I'm Natalie Kilmore, and I am a senior at Cameron.
Thank y'all for
And
all
Mayor,
you've
of course,
done.
you have Hope Tanner, my partner in crime.
Yeah, Hope, thank you for all you've done. You play a big role in this. You do a great job with them, and thank you so much for what you do over the years, because I know it's a big job for what y'all do. Anybody else got anything they want to say? Hi. Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Good luck to you.
You did well under his pressure.
Double.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Always nice to see you.
My brother's coach.
You gonna do this?
Where's
Ernest say?
Still got my, his wrestling now.
I saw you. I was wondering why he was here. Hey, guy. How you doing, Coach? Good to see you.
I know.
Thank you, Hope. All right, we'll go to item 1, award for the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Mr. Faison.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Lisa Strickland, the Finance Director. The City of Monroe Finance Department was awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the 23rd consecutive year for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2015. This Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition for excellence in state and local government financial reporting. In order to be awarded this Certificate of Achievement, a government must publish an easily readable and efficiently organized comprehensive annual financial report. The report must satisfy both generally accepted accounting principles and applicable legal requirements. The CAFR, the annual report, has been judged by an impartial panel to meet the high standards of the program, including demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate the financial story and motivate potential users and user groups to read the report. A certificate of achievement is valid for a period of 1 year. It is awarded to the department that is responsible for preparing the report, which is our finance report department. And I would like to recognize Ashley Duncan. I'm proud to have Ashley Duncan, if you want to come on up, as an employee on our team. Her hard work and professionalism and skill facilitate the successful completion of this report. She's responsible for the whole process of meeting with our auditors and submitting all of the drafts to the state, and then the actual publication and distribution of the report. And thank you, Ashley. I would like you to receive this on behalf of the Finance Department.
Great job.
Time out. I'd like to say thank you for the great job you folks do back there. And it's very obvious that you do a great job by these awards you get. And it's not just this year, but how many years have you gotten this award?
This was the 23rd consecutive year.
23rd consecutive year. So that speaks volume, and it speaks for itself. And I want to say thank you for the great job that you do. You do a great job, and I appreciate that, and I know the council does. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mayor, I think I would just note it's Ashley Ivy that see the recognition. Ashley Duncan, who does great work in my office,
Oh my goodness.
not working. I want to make sure that on the record you hear that it's Ashley Ivy.
Well, I think both of them are assets. I think both of them does a great job.
I thought two Ashley.
Okay. That brings us to the consent agenda.
Mayor, before we start with the consent agenda, I'd like to remove item 6. I had a resident call me that expressed some concerns, and I have talked with Mujib. Mujib, you want to say anything?
Well, I think what we may want to do is go ahead and discuss the rest of the consent agenda and then come back
to
to
6. Okay, we'll pull 6, come back to, okay, at this time we'll do the consent agenda, Larry.
Thank you, Mayor, and members of City Council. The City Council uses a consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or a citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. First of which is the approval and acceptance of minutes and reports, and there are 4 sets of minutes lettered A through C. Item D under that section involves disbursement of fiscal year 2015-2016 City Council discretionary funds. Council members are provided $3,000 each on an annual basis for disbursement at their discretion towards items that meet the public purpose definition of permitted items that a municipality is authorized to perform. There was one disbursement for this period. Mayor Kilgore disbursed $225 to the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Fund for use in the old armory rental fee. Item 3 is a call for public hearing to be held on May 17, 2016 for fiscal year 16-17 budget. Item 4 is a capital project budget ordinance for Seacrest Shortcut Roads Sidewalk Project. And this is for the purpose of approving the budget ordinance in the amount of $4,950 associated with that project. Funds are to be used to pay NCDOT for testing and inspection expenses and close out this project. The capital project was jointly funded between the city and NCDOT, with the city being responsible for construction expenses beyond NCDOT's enhancement funds of $165,000. Project cost totaled $237,549 and change, which exceeded the project budget by $4,950. Item 5 is for the purpose of adopting the Carolina Public Gas Association Agreement for Emergency Assistance. The city is part of a 21-member association which offers members through this agreement a framework for mutual aid during emergency situations. Costs are incurred only in the event of activation of an emergency response request by the city. The last item under consent is for the purpose of approving the submittal of the application for renewal of the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System Phase 2 Stormwater Renewal Permit Application. Mayor and members of City Council, this concludes my synopsis of those items placed on the consent agenda.
Okay, we'll go back. I have a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that's passed. We'll go to item 6, Lancaster Avenue and Haynes Street Sidewalk Improvement Project.
Thank you, Mayor. That item, as Mayor Pro Tem Duncan noted, there had been some call from a citizen who was concerned about some of the issues involved with the project, and what we noted as staff is that we noted that some of this took place, the project takes place in the historic district, so we checked in with staff from planning department as well as engineering to discuss those issues. What we were able to determine is where the sidewalk project requires repair of the sidewalk, that is staff approvable. As the way our Historic District Commission works is that some items have been deferred to the staff, and those that are repair items, like repairing the sidewalk, are staff approvable. What would have to go before the Historic District Commission are where there's new sidewalk construction. For example, a park that's involved, and also some construction around an island in a particular area. Those items would be expected to go to the Historic District Commission for an application to be considered for certificate of appropriateness during their June meeting. So we've wrapped up those issues, and I understand that there may be some other issues, other concerns by some of the residents. However, with respect to dealing with any sort of repair work that would it impact any vegetation, trees in the area, we would note that our folks, and I think Jim Lloyd from the engineering department can talk about the efforts that would take place to help protect vegetation in the area. The goal of the city, of course, is to, while repairing the sidewalks, is not to otherwise damage some of the things that are considered important about not only the historic district but areas of Monroe. So I believe the questions have been resolved, but we are, of course, happy to answer any other questions that may be there that we haven't otherwise talked about.
Okay.
Well, let's go before the historic district on June, you say June 7th?
It's the June meeting. I couldn't tell you the date
Well,
of
okay,
the June
June.
meeting, but it's early June. So that would be, but that would only be for the installation of the new sidewalk. So whatever you decide with respect to this item, Mayor, does not affect, the fact that it still has to go to the Historic District Commission, it doesn't have an effect on your decision. Because if you approve this, either today or at any other point if you choose to delay this, the commission will still have to consider the application for certificate of appropriateness on the installation of the new sidewalks that are in the district. But this would not, approving this today would not be an impediment for the commission to approve it. It would just be that the work would be sequenced with the contractor so that the last items you would do are the things that would have to have been approved by the Historic District Commission.
So if anybody wanted to go before the historic district and speak to them, that is allowed, is that correct?
That's correct. It's a quasi-judicial proceeding, so you'd have to do it under oath.
Okay.
One other issue is there were concerns raised over the amount of public input that exists on this. I would note a couple of things. First, citizens have the right to sign up to speak on this item this evening if they wished. They also would have had the right to appear at the public enterprise meeting that took place on April the 19th. The staff report incorrectly states April the 29th. It was actually on April the 19th. They would have the ability to be there, and if the committee took comment, could offer that comment at that point. They also could, as a citizen has done, contact a member of the council to raise an issue and ask that the item be pulled off the agenda. So now you've had significant amount of discussion already, and then the ability to where if any citizens have signed up on the item to discuss their concerns with the item. So there has been a significant amount of public input. There's been some discussion of whether or not more public hearings are necessary for all sorts of projects. We've talked, the engineering department and I and others have talked, and there's some where public input is appropriate, but when you're dealing with a sidewalk repair project, something of this, the current idea is that you've had the appropriate level of input. This is actually a project that I think is programmed in the budget, I think in the prior budget or in prior budget years. So, and I'll defer to the engineering director and the finance director on those issues. But if there are any other questions that we can answer as a staff, as you know, and everyone else is here in terms of our planning director and our planning staff that deals with the Historic District Commission, the engineering director, and also the infrastructure engineer, as well as I can answer anything I can as well.
Mayor, did anybody sign up to speak on this item?
I don't, not that I see, and the reason I say no, because I say no, and I tend to be correct. If you signed up to speak on this
Mr.
item
Olive, do
tonight.
you want to come up and, can you come up and speak
Well, let me
now?
answer your question. The question was, has anybody signed up? To my knowledge, I don't see it, and the reason I don't think they have is because it being on the consent agenda. Did you sign a sheet out tonight, so to speak?
For the comment period, yeah.
Out on the public comment period. But we recognize you now that if you would like to speak on this.
The answer is yes, you can have him speak if you wish.
Thank you.
My name is Keith Olive. I live at 701 Lancaster Avenue, which is right at the very end of this project on the south side of Lancaster Avenue. First I knew about this, I may have missed it in reading other things, but the first I knew about this was yesterday. Two contractors came down the street sidewalk looking at the concrete, and I went out there to ask them what they were doing, and they said, we're going to be a subcontractor to this contractor here and do the concrete work. And I asked them, what are you doing? And they showed me this, which is one page of 4 that they had stuff together that shows the project and what's going to be cut and what's going to be repaired and all that. And so I said, okay, what's going to happen, because I've got shrubs that go, they're right up against the right-of-way. I've got a huge tree in my yard that's been there since probably 1920 or even before that, that the big main roots of the tree are right up against the sidewalk. Neighbor next to me has 2 trees like that. You go and you have to cut into those roots to get underneath the sidewalk to put the fill in and all that. You're going to kill the trees. They're going to die. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I just don't think we went about this the right way. I understand what the city attorney was saying as far as where input was, but there, you know, if the people don't know that these things are happening and moving, this has been going on since 2015, and I've been here since 2013. I didn't know anything about this. And the project's changed 3 times since 2015. The scope of the project has enlarged 3 times since 2015 to where it finally included my part of the street. So I guess what I'm saying is we need to work out something, some way, put it on the website, put it somewhere where people know when these issues are coming up. I didn't even know, I had a hard time even finding this public, whatever it is, committee on the website. So I'm concerned 200 coming into the south side of town is one of the nicer corridors we have coming into town. People have put a lot of work in their yards, in shrubbery, trees, fences, everything else. And I don't think we want to lose this doing just wholesale repairs to the sidewalks. There are many ways to repair. I lived in some big cities, and you can go in and block by block repair the ones that are broken. If you have big trees that are right up there that have been there, you can put cutouts in the sidewalk around the roots so you don't have to kill the roots. So I guess what I'm asking here is, I think we need to look at, or maybe table this and get some more input from the citizens about what each individual has a problem with. I did want to say thank you to Doug Brett and Jim Lloyd. I got some very good emails back today explaining to me, and I talked to the city attorney today about what the project's about. And offers to sit down with the citizens one at a time as the project goes on. I guess to finish off, what I want to say is I'm scared because I've seen other projects like this where you bring a contractor in, there's no city oversight day by day, and he brings in whatever labor he wants, and somebody says the wrong thing, and the next thing you know, a tree's ruined, bushes are gone, you know, something else, the fence is torn down, and then you go say, oops, and who's the responsibility to put it back? It's going to be not necessarily the city, it could be me. If my bushes are gone, I don't think the city's going to pay to put in all new bushes that are 3 feet back from where they were. And those bushes are part of, the whole thing with the Historic Commission is the image of the building from the front, and those bushes and those trees are part of what's been there forever and are part of the image for that. So that's what I got to say. I would hope you would table this and maybe go back to even, or if you approve it, that we put some kind of hold where we can get some input from everybody, all the citizens along the street, so that we can do this the right way, not ruin things, and not tick a lot of people off.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
I make a motion to be tabled, Mayor.
Councilmember Jordan, do you have a date in mind to table it?
I do not.
Be the May
I've-
17 meeting?
I want it tabled until the issues that have been brought forth can be resolved, which means even if it goes past the appropriateness committee of the historic district. So I do not have a date in time, a date in mind.
All right, have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, second, all in favor? Any opposed? You're not at table. All right. Item 8,
Mayor, at the last council meeting, we held a public hearing so that the public could provide input on changing the date of the municipal election from October to November. Councilman Jordan spoke and offered comments reference to his service in the military and his service to the city council. He further referenced discrimination that was pervasive in the mid-1900s in Monroe and the United States. First, I would like to thank Mr. Jordan for his service in the military and especially his service in Vietnam. He did serve a tour of duty there. I also want to thank Mr. Jordan for his long service on the City Council and to the citizens of Monroe. Moving this election from October to November is not about disenfranchising voters, nor will that occur. It's not about voter ID, nor is it about drawing district lines. And it's certainly not about making this a partisan election. This change is about getting more people out to vote and to generate more interest in our election process. Besides the low voter turnout that we have in October, there is an additional financial cost to holding the election in October. And those are the reasons to change the dates of the election. And with that, I'd like to make a motion that we change the date of the municipal election from October to November.
I second that.
have a motion and a second. Are there any other discussions?
Mayor Pro Tem Duncan, could I ask you to amend your motion to approve the ordinance to amend to change the election? That way it's clear what the council's action is.
My motion is to amend Section 3.1 of City Charter by changing the city election method to the plurality method pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 163-292.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion?
Yes, and I appreciate the comments that Councilmember Duncan made. Again, our October elections have allowed us to elect a tolerant and a diverse city council. That tolerant and diverse city council is a city council that allows a woman to come in here and serve as police chief for the city of Monroe. None of the municipalities with October elections have ever done that. We've never had a sheriff, a woman sheriff here coming from the October elections. Again, I'm appreciative of the comments that have been made, but I know where this is headed. So as a consequence, I will be voting against this, Mayor.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
One nay. Two nays. Okay, you get that, Bridget?
Yes, sir.
Item 9, consideration of youth community development block grant, public hearing.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight I'm bringing before you the request for consideration of the use of community development block grant funds from the North Carolina Department of Commerce and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for infrastructure or building reuse projects. These use of these CDBG funds would be particular to the North Carolina Main Street program, which received these funds from Department of Commerce. In February, they created a downtown redevelopment fund, and they have increased the amount in that fund to $5 million. 2.55 million of that have been awarded to Main Street projects since February. Monroe being one of those that made the pre-app cut. We have been recommended for formal application. This is specific to the Presson building in downtown Monroe, or more popularly known as the Rock Building. The purpose of this funding is to make improvements to buildings that are vacant or underutilized and helps prepare them for the property for a new business. It addresses, they're limited to historic preservation, remediation of environmentally contaminated properties, building rehab activities, including code corrections. And this grant is for commercial properties. For-profit businesses have to occupy the buildings. It doesn't include housing or anything like that, or upper floor apartments. The pre-app has, like I mentioned, has been moved on. The project is to rehab the Preston building. The amount requested of the grant is $400,000. The owner will be providing a 25% match to that grant as required, us being a Tier 3 community. And I think Joe Beeson and Charlie Griffin are here representing the developer owners of the project. And I request your approval. This has gone to General Services Committee.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Apparently no questions for you.
No questions? All right.
This is a public hearing. Is anyone here who'd like to speak in favor? I have Mr. Beeson signed up to speak.
I signed up just in case I needed to.
Okay. Let me finish this. Is anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action. I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor? Aye. That will pass, all right. Item 10, zoning map request for property located on 2424 Ashcraft Avenue. At this time,
Good evening, I'm Carrie Hutchins with the Planning Department. Tonight I'm here to present a zoning map amendment request by David Threet for the property located at 2424 Ashcraft Avenue. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property from general industrial to conditional district Car Lovers LLC. The subject property is highlighted in blue and is to the south of Ashcraft Avenue. See a little bit for you. The properties to the north are electric substations. The property to the east is a business, and the property to the south and west are currently vacant. The subject property is currently zoned general industrial, and all the adjoining zoning is also general industrial. The applicant has requested the conditional district in order to allow all automotive uses, as well as retain all the uses allowed in the general industrial district. The site currently contains a 2,800 square foot building with gravel parking. The applicant is proposing to pave a driveway, as well as a parking area that will include 5 parking spaces. And the applicant is proposing to add landscaping in front of the chain link fence, existing chain link fence, and in front of the building. Here are some pictures of the property currently.
and all that will be paved in there?
The part in front of the building will be right here, and then a driveway leading up to this gate.
What was this building used for?
I believe it was a paving company last.
Paving?
What would be, and I know, I'm sure the owner may want to speak, and that's fine, but what, I'll ask them I'll ask that. Is the owner here?
Yes.
Okay, I'll ask that question.
See, the applicant did send letters to the adjoining property owners within 150 feet of the property on March 21st, and staff posted the property and sent letters to the property owners within 150 feet of the property on April 21st. And staff has not received any calls at this time. The planning board recommends that city council approve the zoning map amendment request to rezone the property located at 2424 Ashcraft Avenue from general industrial to conditional district Carlovers LLC, including the adoption of a resolution of land development compliance, which has been provided in your packets. Be happy to answer any questions. And
Council, have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. This is a public hearing, and anyone here who would like to speak in favor, and I have a David Freak signed up. Would you like to speak, sir?
That's me. How are you doing?
Fine, sir.
That's my property. It's my first piece of property. What I could afford at the time, and what I'm doing is incubating for future business that I want to do. Pretty good, sort of like an engineer when it comes to like the newer cars, hybrids, and this is where I want to play. And pretty much everything she said is pretty much what it is.
What will you be doing in the building automotive-wise? I mean, I know what it said, but what will you actually be doing? Buying, selling cars, working on cars, or what?
I work on them. I work on cars. I do sell some. It's not that many right now, but I plan on just using this to incubate me, because it's basically basically mom and pop. I'm just not starting out. And before you can afford the big boys, you got to start small. Right. So I figured that this right here would be a perfect place for me. I knew the owner. I bought it, and I'm making it work. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? We recognize you this time, sir. Your name and address, please.
Yes, hi.
For the record.
My name is Ted Grieve, and sorry I ran late. I was actually in the wrong building, but I actually own some adjoining property to this, and I guess in favor is the idea that I have the 17 acres that go behind this, and then there's a strip that goes to the right side of this. Pretty much that Ashcraft Street is a dead area, and part of that is because Ashcraft was connected at one point in time by a bridge, and that bridge was, for whatever reason, removed.
Back in 50 years ago.
Maybe.
It was.
I just recognized that there was a bridge there.
It was through there during World War II when the camp was there.
Okay.
I weren't old enough to remember that, but I was told that.
Come on, Bobby. So this piece of property is kind of isolated, and there's not really a whole lot happening there. I guess I would welcome anybody who's willing to try to do something in that area that might have a positive impact on it, and probably increase the tax base.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Also with the resolution, you have to attach the resolution to that motion, Gary.
You need to approve, yes, motion to approve the action and the resolution.
Motion to approve the action and the resolution.
All right, I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor of that? That's fine.
Mayor, you need to actually take the noes, and this is because it's a zoning issue. A failure to vote is no longer a yes, so we need to actually know who's a yes, no, and if anyone's abstaining.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? I think that's a good idea to start doing anyway. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 12, zoning map amendment request for property located at the corner of Venus Street and Sutton Place. At this time, we've...
You skipped 11.
Sir?
You skipped 11.
Mr. Lee, is that
You
Mr. Lee?
skipped 11.
11.
You need to go back to
Zoning map request for property located at 2116 North Rocky River Road. General business to conditional district Hess Tire. Public hearing.
Tonight I'm presenting a zoning map amendment request by David Hess for the property located at 2116 North Rocky River. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property from general business to conditional district Hess Tire and Auto Service. The subject property is highlighted in blue. It is east of North Rocky River Road and north of Old Charlotte Highway. The land to the north, east, and south is currently vacant, and the land to the west is the rock quarry. The property is currently zoned general business. The adjoining land uses to the north, east, and south are general business, and zoning is general business, and the zoning to the west is general business and general industrial. The applicant is requesting a conditional district, and in order to allow all automotive uses as well as retain all the uses allowed in the general business zoning district. The site currently contains a 5,040 square foot building with a partially paved parking lot and some gravel. The applicant is proposing to resurface the existing gravel in front of the building, as well as pave over a portion of the gravel just left of the building, which totals about 6,000 square feet. And the applicant is proposing to extend the concrete walkway along the left side of the building and install a pole and chain fence along portions of the property. This property was previously the Baker's Fire Department, so it currently has the roll-up garage doors. The applicant sent letters to the adjoining property owners within 150 feet of the property on March 22nd, and staff also posted the property and sent letters to the property owners within 150 feet on April 21st, and staff has not received any phone calls. Planning Board recommends that council approve the zoning map amendment request to rezone the property located at 2116 North Rocky River Road from general business to conditional district Hess Tire and Auto Service, including adoption of a resolution of land development component, which is in the minutes. Be happy to answer any questions, applicants.
Council, have any questions? Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing. Does anyone here like to speak in favor? You would give your name and address, sir, for the book.
David Hess, and I'd just like to state out the fact that we do have one business in Monroe right now on Dickerson Boulevard. We would like to expand our business a little bit further, keep the one location and also run the second one. So we'd appreciate if it would get approved. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
sir.
you'd be tearing down this existing building and
Absolutely not. No. Keeping that, changing a lot of stuff there, but
sure.
Nice facelift. Yes, we want to keep. We're going to go with actually trying to keep a little bit of the fire department theme in there as we roll it into our business.
Will you be building another building or just renovating this one?
Renovating this one.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Mayor, you also need a motion to adopt the resolution as
Motion
well.
to approve and adopt the resolution.
Okay. Have a motion to adopt and approve the resolution. You want another count?
I'm going to second
Yes, sir.
that out.
All right. We got that in.
Well, we need your vote.
All right. Now, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passed. Thank you very much. Now we're going to item 12. Zoning map request for property located on corner of Venus and Sutton Place.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Doug Britt, the Planning Department. And tonight I'm presenting a zoning map amendment request filed by Brock Ventures Incorporated and Buckeye Community Hope Foundation for the property located at the intersection of Venus Street and Sutton Place. The request is to rezone the subject property from residential multifamily 2 conditional district airfield at Sutton Place. The applicant is proposing to develop 60 age-restricted 55 and older residential apartments, add surface parking, outside sitting areas, and raised garden beds to the site. This is our aerial map of the subject property, outlined in blue, located at the intersection of Venus Street and Sutton Place. The area to the north is where there's existing apartment complex at this location, Union County Bus Garage. To the east is Metro Medical, and to the west is the Food Line Shopping Center and other offices, professional medical offices. And to the far west is Roosevelt Boulevard.
That's out there behind Food Line on 74.
Yes, sir, it is. Again, the subject property is outlined in blue, and the subject property is currently zoned residential multifamily. The properties to the north are residential multifamily as well as general industrial. Property to the east is mixed use special use, and the properties to the west are GB general business. The applicant is present to construct a 3-story, 60-unit building that will be house 24 one-bedroom units. The one-bedroom units are approximately 660 square feet, and there'll be 36 two-bedroom units that are approximately 900 square feet. We'll be providing a sidewalk along the property frontage, as well as parking lot landscaping throughout the site as required by the ordinance. There is a blue line stream that goes through the northern portion of the property, which by the ordinance is required to provide a 50-foot buffer on either side of that stream. The applicant is also proposing to provide 122 parking spaces. The ordinance requires 1 space per bedroom plus a half a space per unit, and which equates to a total of 126. But this being proposed as age restricted, staff did not have a problem with that minor deviation from 126 to 122 as he's proposing. This is the elevation of the proposed building with, it'll be a majority brick and hardy plank with obviously windows on all sides and then 30-year architectural shingles. The land development plan indicates this area is classified as general commercial. Although the proposed project is not in compliance with the land development plan, staff believes it's a reasonable use based on the following reasons. 1, the project is in close proximity to US 74 with limited road frontage and limited visibility from 74. There are other multifamily developments in close vicinity. The subject property has been zoned multifamily since at least the mid-1980s. And finally, the city's land development plan, which was adopted in 2000, which is approximately 16 years old, does not reflect the current land use patterns and market trends, and that document is currently being revised and going through the process. The applicant did send notification letters to all the property owners within 150 feet of the subject property on March 13th, as well as staff sent letters out on April 21st and posted properly on April 21st. Staff has not received any emails or inquiries regarding the project. This project was presented to the planning board last month. The planning board did recommend approval with the condition that the city can verify that at least one person in each unit is 55 or older at any time. A resolution of land development plan compliance is included with your packet and needs to be part of your decision tonight to approve or deny. And I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any. The applicant's here tonight to make a presentation as well.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, there's some apartments down there, is it named Camden Apartment, Cambridge Apartments?
I think they're the
What
ones.
is the crime rate down there? Do you know that?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Is this applicant also applying for tax credits?
They are.
How many units could be built in there if the property stays on the way that it's currently zoned?
Well, the way it's currently zoned, staff did some research. Back in 2007, council took out the ability for anybody to develop residential multifamily for apartments. So regardless of how it's financed, if somebody wanted to do more than a duplex on the property, it would have to go through a rezone process, a conditional district process, and ultimately approved by y'all. But the density for residential multifamily is 6 units per acre. And this property is 10.03 acres, so he's within the density requirements of the property based on the current zoning.
What's been on this property in the past?
Farmland has been vacant.
Nothing.
No.
So it's just been a vacant property?
Correct, it has.
High food line.
So the rock quarry is down there and those rundown apartments are down there.
Right. You know, as far as I know, I don't never know nothing on the property myself. I mean,
And the bus place still there?
the bus place is right there.
But
This is the bus right here. Those are all the school buses you see tops up right there. And this is the Food Line Shop Center going out, and the CVS, and then there's that the hotel, and those are the Cambridge apartments you're speaking of.
is that hotel still operated? It's being operated?
Yes, ma'am.
It is?
Yes, ma'am.
The one bedroom, proposed one bedroom are just 600 square feet.
Approximately 660, yes.
And then the two are just 900, they're very small.
Yep, 900 square feet, yes, ma'am.
And at least one person, 55, and then whoever.
Right. The way it's set up, and the applicant can explain this, but the way it's set up, you know, if I was over 55 and my spouse was less than 55, that would be okay.
But it's not just a spouse, it could be a friend, relative.
Well, you know, and he can get more into that, but as far as there's certain guidelines they have to meet, but as far as if you're getting that, because, you know, sometimes, you know, nowadays you have grandparents that are raising their grandchildren, that could possibly happen in these locations now. Is it ideal for that? Probably not, because there's not any outside recreation areas for the kids, but is it possible? Yes, it's possible.
So is it safe to say that no one has expressed an interest in developing this property in many, many years?
No, this is the first inquiry about this property in the 8.5 years I've been here.
So the answer is yes.
It's a very unattractive area, and I'm concerned about the climate down there. I'm familiar with that area and with the way the other side looks. The Cambridge apartments and the pretty seedy motel that's down there.
Right, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. I believe I have Mr. David Lee. Sir, we're
James.
I'm sorry.
James Allen Lee, sir.
Well, Mr. Lee would do it, wouldn't
That would, but you called him David, that's all.
James Allen Lee, 314 North
he?
Haynes
Mom
Street.
always said me to call him Mr. and Mrs. Mr. Lee.
Well, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, I'm here, my client is here as well, the developer. I think he could probably answer a lot of questions, but I did want to give you kind of an overview to start with. And I wanted to hit off, because the elephant in the room, I know that I looked at the meeting from last time when the Buggy Works factory was approved. I think one of the comments was it's going to open the floodgates. But let me address that real quick in two ways. First, this application was in before that was approved. They were kind of at the same time because there is the need. But these are tax credit developments. And as far as that goes, it will not be both of the projects getting approved for the tax credit. One or neither could get approved in any 1 year. So both projects would not get built. But there is a significant need for this in Union County. And really, quite frankly, all over the place. I spoke with Linda Smosky. I don't know if y'all know her. She's the executive director of the Council on Aging for Union County. And one of the things that she really hit upon is that seniors like to age in place if they can. That is their desire. They don't want to have to move and change communities. And as people age, they're on a fixed income. They don't have the money to fix up their house, to do those things. Their houses start to get into disrepair, having those problems. They need affordable places where they can go and age and stay in the community where they are. Currently, in Union County, there are two, there's the Cotton Street Commons and Bragg Street Apartments. They are totally different projects and products than this. Okay, one's a HUD program that has rent assistance, and my client will explain to you the difference in those type products. But it currently has over a 2-year waiting period. There's no place for people to be able to age in place. They're having to leave Union County. They're going to Cabarrus County, to Mecklenburg County, to South Carolina, the places that are having these age appropriate committees. Mr. Jordan, you were asking about the current zoning and what could be done there, and he's right. You know, the same number of units could be built by right, just putting up duplexes. You know, that's harder to maintain, to look at and do. If you look at these tax credit deals, they are set up to prosper. You know, the state of North Carolina puts restrictions on there through the Affordable Housing Authority on what you can do, what requirements, what type of financial backing they have to have, what type of management they have to have in order to keep it maintained and look through. My client has some beautiful pictures he can show you of products that have been in place for many, many years and how they maintain and do those. So it is a need. I grew up here in Monroe. My parents live in Leawood, which is very close to here. I spoke to him and their neighbors. You know, everybody thinks this is something that is needed. We need somewhere for seniors to be able to go. When I spoke to Linda Smusky, her one complaint was, why can't they build them both? Why can't they do the Buggy Works and this? Because we need it. I know, because I've been here in front of y'all before, that one of the big issues is rental properties in Monroe. You know, and I'll agree that rental properties can be a problem in Monroe. But the right kind of rental property actually helps property values. This is a need that exists here. This property, and you can see the pictures, you've seen where this is located. It's not adjacent to other residential property. And I know the apartments you're talking about down beside there. They're not right. We've got the hospital across for elderly people. They'll be able to walk to a grocery store. They can walk to the CVS that's there, all the doctor's offices. I personally would jump in a car to go across the street, 74, because I live there. You know, this is set up for 30 years that the developer has to keep this in place. And another thing is this is a site-specific development plan. Now, there can be some questions coming here. What is the enforcement on keeping it here? And I know the planning board asked that the applicant or the property owner would have to submit written verification of the 55 plus stuff. They have to do that already for the tax credits. They have no problem doing that. I would advise the city to think about whether or not they want to get in that policing arrangement on all properties, but that's up to you. My client would certainly be willing to do that. But it's a site-specific development plan. You're locking that down. If you look, there's a lot of land that's left undisturbed there. All that property that's located north of the stream that he was showing you that's adjacent to the bus lot is going to remain woods. You know, right now it's just kind of a dumping area for trash. You know, I've lived there. The food line was built in 1986. I remember that because I was 11 years old and I lived across the street. And we go to walk over to Cameo Video. I don't know if any of y'all remember that. That's where we go rent our VHS tapes. They might have had beta, but we didn't have a beta player. You know, back then you could walk across 74. You can't now. But this is something that is needed. It would be good for the city of Monroe. It would help move people that want to age in place, give them somewhere to go, and let those houses change hands. Right now, if they want to stay here, they have to stay in their house. If they don't have the money to keep it up and do that, their property falls in disrepair. And then when ultimately they pass away and it has to be sold, somebody's left with either having to fix it up or turn it into a rental. That's where our problem is. We need some good places for people to be able to go. With that, I'd like to turn it over, unless you have questions directly for me.
I've got one, of course, I don't know who wants to answer. My question would be, the clients or the people who wants to move in there, are there any way, do they check these people, look at the background, or how do they select who lives there?
Where is Steve? He has a slide on that.
Okay, very good. Thank you. If you would, your name and address, sir, for the record.
Sure. My name is Stephen Brock. I live at 116 Colonial Drive in Wilmington, North Carolina, and I'm the applicant here. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard, and let me present my development and how we'll hopefully become good members of your community. It's a goal we always strive for. And I will address your question, Mr. Mayor, and hopefully many others in the process. Again, the concept is affordable rental apartments for elderly 55 plus, not necessarily 64 plus as some products are. But quickly, just to introduce the major partners, it's a joint venture of myself, Brock Ventures. I'm just a little one-man firm, and Buckeye Community Hope Foundation out of Ohio, a much larger firm, well-established, over 3,000 units, and together we stay in over the long term, again, 30-plus years as managing member. We bring in a tax credit investor. That's sort of complicated. They have the majority ownership, but we are the managing member, and we provide guarantees and asset management and certain things that we have to provide over the long term. So it's not a flip. We don't develop it and flip it and then get out. We are in it, and we'll be members if we're so lucky to be in your community for the long term. Just a quick example, and I'll go through, I've got more, plenty of other pictures, but just want to show that this is now, the tax credit product in North Carolina and most other states is now a very high construction quality product. It's really, and it's also really the highest end of affordable housing that there is. We're targeting up to 60% of area median income, so when you're talking about families, or in this case, 55 plus, many of whom are obviously still in the workforce. This is the highest end of workforce housing, and I like to refer to it as the Cadillac of affordable housing. And this really is a very nice product built to market rate standards in construction quality. This is an example of one that I did a couple of years ago in Wallace, North Carolina, closer to where I live. It's more family oriented. This was the community building where there's a community room, a management office, computer center, fitness room, things of that nature for the residents. And then something that I have proposed here in Monroe are raised vegetable garden planters. It's something I feel very personally strong about. That you go in the grocery store today and Doritos and all kinds of junk food are cheaper than fruits and vegetables, and I think it's a great opportunity for residents to pursue gardening and other in pursuit of good healthy eating. Doug covered the location, of course, again behind the Food Lion. Again, and James talked about the fact there's no single family bordering this. Often multifamily is a good transition behind a big box or a strip center such as this. We feel that's the case here. And there is multifamily nearby as well. In this particular case, Sutton Place has its challenges. This is staring down Sutton Place. That's the back of Food Lion on the right. So, it's maybe not the view that I would want, but it's one that we can work with, keeping some tree buffering and things along the street. But I think it's fair to say it'd be challenging to attract other uses to this site. Doug touched on the nature of the rezoning. It's a conditional rezoning. Again, at 6 per acre, so we're within the district maximums. And again, nothing else can be built here. So we talk about when we see the site plan, there's some area to be preserved. Nothing can be. It's a site-specific approval, so nothing else can be built other than what would hopefully be approved here tonight. The concept, again, is financing with the low-income housing tax credit product. Again, 55 and older is clearly still in the workforce, but some will be retired, of course, as well. And the demand, I don't have any numbers up here, but the demand, we commissioned North Carolina Housing Finance Agency commissioned a market study from a professional, some 75 pages. And the demand here is really solid. It's the demand is about 318 for one bedrooms and 196 for two bedrooms. And that, they look at a certain band of people where this is affordable to them. The definition of affordable housing being that you spend no more than 30% of your income on housing, and that's what this accomplishes. I'd like to take a minute to talk about tax credits and just the way they work. They come into the deal on the front end. It's a construction subsidy. It's not an ongoing rental subsidy. But the idea is to come away with your permanent financing. Most deals have a little bit of equity and a lot of debt. This sort of flips it on its head, and we have a lot of equity and a little bit of debt, so we have less debt servicing and thus able to keep the rents affordable to the tenant. It is several things it's not. It's not Section 8. There's no HUD oversight. This is administered, it's chartered by Section 42 of the Internal Revenue Code and basically administered by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. There's no housing authority involvement. It's not public housing. And again, there's no rent subsidy as well. One of the things that I like to talk about in communities is, it's not going to solve all of your housing problems. I'm not going to sit here and say that, of course, but it does, this kind of product over time, as it comes in more and more in a given town, does put pressure on other landlords to maintain their properties. You're giving people who don't have an affordable option, now they have an option of where to go. And we talk about competition in the marketplace, and this product definitely pushes that idea forward as well. This was a sample snapshot in time of a property in Georgia one of my old partners did. Just took a listing of, where the people work that lived there at that point in time. And it reflects basically what you would expect it to reflect. Retail being the biggest component of our economy, not surprising that most people work there, but all the other things that you would expect to see, restaurant, office and banking, things of that nature. This is an example of a similar design as I'm proposing here, and I apologize for not having a slightly better picture, but this is one in Davidson County that a competitor did, and it's a single building, 3-story with a common entrance. So in terms of numbers, who can live here, what would they pay? On average, 1.5 people in a 1-bedroom and 3.5 people in a 2-bedroom. In this case, I would not expect 3.5. That's more for a family number, but in a 2-bedroom, it's usually, 2-bedroom elderly, it's usually 2 or maybe 3 people, somewhere in between. But those targeted max incomes are about $30,000 to $38,000, and the rents that they'd be paying are $675 to $795. Plus, they pay all their own utilities as well. So it's a meaningful amount of rent that they pay, one where they are vested in their property and their residency there, but still affordable to them. I won't go over everything here again. Doug touched on pretty much everything. But again, the portion on the left would not be developed. We'll have a note on the property, and that's going to run at least 30 years. So sometime after that, if that were ever to be developed, they would have to come back here for reapproval in any case. Doug showed the picture here. We'd have a single building with a covered drop-off and pickup area in the center of the building. This is it blown up just a little bit more. So you've got fenestration, the building's moving in and out. Good, hardy plank siding, real brick, dormers, and Energy Star windows. It's very high quality. Floor plans I won't get in, it's pretty straightforward, but in the middle section on all 3 floors would be storage pens for extra storage for the tenants, laundry facilities, management office on the first floor. On the upper floors, there'd be a community room for with a kitchenette for gatherings and things of that nature. Unit amenities, everything you would expect an apartment to have. And these days, everything's Energy Star driven. Site amenities, again, computer center, raised garden beds, elevators for the upper floors. Here is an example of a family deal I recently just opened about 6 months ago in Southport, close to where I live. This is near the end of construction, so there's still a little bit of construction activity there, but very active. This is the community room where residents can come play cards and have holiday gatherings, things of that nature. That's it from the other side. Little kitchenette there, so they can heat their food and store it. This is an example of one built in Wilmington in the past year or so. another example of one. I think this one's about 7 or 8 years old in Greenville, North Carolina. Again, a family deal. There's often, concern about, okay, well, what's it going to look like over time? So there's several ways we address that. We have a full-time property manager forever. They're on call 24/7, even if they're not at the property. They've got must keep their phone on and be ready to respond to any kind of emergency. Tenants, to your question, Mr. Mayor, tenants are screened for credit, criminal, and income. No felonies, no evictions from residency in the past several years, things of that nature. They have to make enough income to pay the rent, but also fall within the income band that we targeted. And there's several provisions for long-term maintenance. Every year we'd be funding about $15,000 into a replacement reserve fund for roofs and eventually new appliances in the unit, things of that nature. We'll have a full-time maintenance person on staff, also on call for any emergencies. And we'll have preventive maintenance contracts for HVAC and exterminating, things of that nature. And probably, equally as important is an operating reserve funded at, when we convert to permanent debt, of about $245,000. These are a few properties my partner has, and I've put these pictures were taken this week, and this is how they look after certain amounts of time. In this case, 14 years, still very well maintained, cleaned. Maybe not as attractive as what we're designing here, of course. We do it better in North Carolina, I think, but it still goes to show how well it's maintained. Here's another property. Again, just pictures taken this week. Fresh grass cuttings, unit interiors maintained. This may be the last one. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Council have any questions?
Is there any type of security plan?
Security is, we do not have a security person on site. Sometimes we put up cameras. We do ask, police to swing by and cruise through, and we have what's called a resident meeting, where residents come and we talk about current events and what's happening on the property and things, and sort of build a community watch program. And probably most importantly, the property manager is really tasked with protecting that asset. So their job is to kind of watch and see if somebody's coming and going maybe that shouldn't be, and sort of getting in the resident's business. There's some indirect ways we address that. We do quarterly unit inspections, make sure that the people that are on the lease are the ones living there, that they're maintaining the units, there's nothing crazy going on, things of that nature. Overwhelmingly, the type of person that wants to come there is just looking for a clean and safe place to live, and this product really does that. That's the outcome. That's really what this is all about.
What is the average stay of your tenants once you get them in?
It varies. A lot of it depends on the town and the economy, whether you're doing family or elderly. Elderly tend to stay in place longer. I don't have a number for you, but the satisfaction rate, if you will, is very high, and they tend to stay.
What is now you say you will be responsible for this for 30 years?
Yes, sir.
After 30 years, what could be done with the property?
We could sell it, or we may, everything, all properties age even if you maintain them, so we may want to do a rehab of the property. We can go in for tax credits for rehab, and they're not just for new construction. If we find other financing and, through, the FHA or some other things of that nature, we might be able to rehab it. But it's, you know, we'll have a 30-year land use restriction agreement filed that only this product targeted to this community, the elderly 55 plus, and the 60% area median income can do there. So 30 years, it's hard to know where things will be. It'll be well maintained by them, but we don't have a predefined exit strategy on a given property.
But after that 30 years, it no longer has to be for senior citizens. It could be anyone that the market will bear.
It doesn't have to be, but with this design, I think that's what it's going to lend itself to. Just with the interior corridor and the 1 and 2 bedrooms, and it will, I believe it will be successful over those 30 years, and I think that's what it'll make sense to do. And if we did go back in for some new tax credits, we would then again have to file another 30-year land use restriction agreement.
Monroe's had some experience with properties, not necessarily on housing tax credit properties, but multifamily properties that have been put in place, and we were given assurances on the front end, and after the project expired, result was not something we were pleased with.
That does happen. Nothing can be assured forever, but we'll make every effort to maintain it in a healthy way for the long term.
Mr. Jordan, I would like to add that this is a site-specific development plan, so the conditions that y'all place on this project remains subject to. So if they wanted, even after 30 years, if they wanted to change this to some other use, they would have to come back before the council. And I'm looking to see how many of y'all are still going to be here in 30 years. They have to come back in front of the council and ask for it to be changed, from that, regardless of what their desire to do is. They would have to come back for a change to the site-specific development.
But if they sell it, as he's talking about, the new buyer would not have to have the senior citizens component of it.
Yes, sir, they would. Again, this is a site-specific development plan that follows the land. If they sell it to someone, they're required to follow those same parameters that y'all set out in your conditions. So again, it would take coming to council again and asking for an amendment to that plan to change the use.
Is that correct, Doug?
Yep. Yes, it is. I mean, if it's approved, it's like this forever, unless.
Okay, so only senior apartments could be there until city council decides to change it?
Correct.
Okay, but the other restrictions with regard to somebody checking to make sure that the person's a senior citizen, making sure that the credit is checked, making sure that there's no violations of felonies or things like that. After 30 years, that's no longer part of this.
All the conditions on the project are on the project forever until somebody applies for something else and the council does something else with it. That's like conditional districts we had that were approved 10 years ago, for subdivision layout, and they're still the same.
What happens if the developer is not as vigilant as the city thinks it needs to be about checking criminal histories, checking the age, checking, to make sure that people who are in the property should be there? Do we have any kind of recourse against the developer?
The only recourse we have as far as what the planning board does, they recommend that the city have the ability to check the age and verify it. And, up to 30 years, the developer has, because you're audited annually for that, based on how you're performing there. If you're not releasing to the right people or right income, you can be penalized. And after 30 years, if it's, it would still definitely be up for us, but as far as, I guess a lot depends on what he does as a developer as far as that, it would be age restricted as far as we're concerned.
And I would leave that to your attorney, but I believe it would be a zoning enforcement issue at that point for the city to look at.
That would be correct.
Okay, well, tell me what the city can do if they are not doing what they've stated they're going to do in this condition.
We would commence, if we're aware of it, a zoning enforcement action could be commenced through that normal process, and they would then have to respond to the enforcement action. I don't know what that is going off back there. But that would be the process we would have to follow. That's our enforcement tool.
And we are subject to audits from the IRS because it is a funding program, again, chartered by the Internal Revenue Code. North Carolina Housing has very strict and frequent audits as well. Our investors have, and even our debt providers provide certain checks and audits as well. So there's a lot of compliance and record keeping that goes into this. And one of the things too, we don't really have an incentive to rent, bad characters. There's such a demand for this. If you misbehave or don't pay your rent, there's no right to stay. You're gone. And so we have financial obligations. We got debt that we got to pay, just like everybody else does. So we have no incentive to keep bad characters or unqualified characters, in a place where there's high demand among otherwise qualified and good people.
Well, my only issue is that 55 years old is considered elderly. Not that I am. I think that's only the mayor is the only one that's that old up here, but other than that.
Well, let's see your birth certificate.
My concern is knowing the area, knowing the surroundings. I would have concern for elderly people being in that vicinity, because I know that the Cambridge apartments are run down, and they have a seedy motel on the corner, and I think we put them in harm's way. You got them in the back of a food line. There's a rock quarry where a lot of activities go on. My biggest concern is the location. It's absolutely certain that there is a need, but I don't think you just put people anywhere.
Hey, one other point I thought of on security, we can do key access. There's only, I guess, 3 entrances to the building, 2 on the side and 1 in the front. So it's not hard to do like a key card system.
It's just, in my opinion, from living in North area, it's not the safest place for elderly people.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir. We do have some signed up to speak, and I'll take it as in the order that they were signed up on, and the first one is Robert.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Robert Yanachek. I'm at 513 Everett Street. And I think one of the comments he said earlier is it does seem like the floodgates are starting to open. We recently had a homeless shelter be built on one of the gateways into the city, and directly behind it is another project going in the old buggy factory, which at this point we're not sure how that's going to turn out long term because they ain't even started construction. And here we are discussing almost an identical project also in the city of Monroe, which has a rental population of about 55% of all the property in Monroe is rental property. So my concerns is, just like anyone else, how do we enforce this 55 and over? Myself, I have worked at some of these developments in Charlotte. There's one specifically that is exactly the same way. The tenant is 55 and over, however, the 20 children and their grandchildren are not. And they do increase the cost of service to the police. And as Councilmember Anthony said, I'd be surprised if they could be able to get the thing built in that area without having half the stuff stolen. It is a high crime area. I'm not sure if anyone's done any research on the cost of service within the vicinity of that building about to be built, but the police will see an increase in service, not only on the police, but the fire, medic, and I'm not sure at this point we can afford to have that with our current budget status. As I said earlier, it's not in compliance with the land use as it stands. And like, so one of the main concerns I have is I know this was discussed at the planning board a couple weeks ago. However, those minutes from the planning board have not been made available online. The agenda packet was published Saturday night, so it gave us just a couple of days to kind of look and research on these things. If you go to the planning board link, the minutes are not on there. Just in the day and a half that I had to look at it, I pulled up some information on the Buckeye Hope Foundation, and they're not everything that they seem to be. They do.
Let me ask you, is Buckeye, is that the other project?
No, that's the
This is Buckeye here. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's a joint venture, and the Buckeye Hope Foundation is going along with this gentleman, I believe. They concentrate in low-income housing, also in some charter schools. Just a Google search thing with Google, you can find all kinds of stuff. And currently, some of those charter schools that Buckeye is a sponsor for are being investigated by the FBI for wrongdoing. So I think with the minimum amount of time we had to look into these things, I think there are some topics coming up. The management group, the RLJ management group, which I don't think anyone is here from there, if you run some history on them, there are some interesting properties that they own, and they are some high crime activities. So I have some calls into the police departments that some of these properties are located in, and I'm expecting some calls back, reference the calls for service, the increased calls for service. I'm not sure if anyone on council has looked into that, but it will be a huge impact on our services. It just concerns me that supposedly these nice developments are all picking Monroe and not Waxhaw or Weddington or some of the surrounding communities. It almost seems like they're picking Monroe for a reason, and I'm not exactly sure why, other than it seems like the county's targeting us to put stuff that they don't want. Without sounding too, I think it's kind of be blunt, it seems like we're being targeted to put stuff here. Like I said, I don't think that's the best location. I think it'll end up much like the surrounding properties, especially without security, 24 hour, and if they need extra security, it's going to come back to the police department to provide that. So I don't think we have the resources to do that right now with our status. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have Mr. Troy Simpson.
Troy Simpson from Monroe, North Carolina.
Yes,
A
sir.
lot of stuff's been said that I was going to say, but I'm a little bit different from some. I think it's a great location for this type of apartment for seniors, because you got the food stores closed, you got shopping closed, you got medical closed, and I don't think you should compare these units to, say, Cambridge down there that hadn't been managed or looked after since they were built by people that built them and then just kind of let them go. But I think the reason things are coming into Monroe like this is the need for it here. And out in the county, you don't really have the services so that you can come in and do this. But the big thing is there's only going to be one of these. There are not two of them going to be built this year. If we get approval on this one, then the government will decide which one of them, or neither one of them can be built. But as far as going over location and everything, everybody's about to say everything, but I'm definitely in favor. I think Monroe needs some senior apartments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Mr. Richard Allen.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Richard Ollie. I'm an owner resident on South Haines Street here in Monroe. And I guess one thing about coming up later in the discussion is you get to hear what other people are saying. And I've got some big concerns about the number of rental properties in the city of Monroe. And I sat in on the planning commission meeting when this was discussed, and the same issue was raised by one member of the commission. Apparently the rates here in Monroe are over 50% at this point. Whether they're low-income rentals or regular rentals, it's just becoming a renter's a mecca right now for rental properties, which in my mind is not really doing anything to increase the viability of Monroe, to strengthen our downtown area. And I really think that what we need to be looking at are projects that are going to increase those. We got to look at the long-term growth of the city, the financial health of the city, and I think as we get more and more into the rental area, that is diminishing. I agree with a lot of the points that Mr. Yanisek made about the increase in the cost of police patrols, not just because of the low-income housing, but just, the increase in residents that's going to bring in. So there are a lot of unanswered questions, I think, about the project, about maybe the parties involved, not to cast any stones, but it might be something that would serve this council to possibly consider tabling until more discussion can be had on this and more people can be brought forward to discuss the issues. So those are my comments at this point.
Thank you, sir. Teresa?
My name is Teresa Eman. I live at 513 Everett Street in Monroe. First of all, I want to say that I don't discount the need for fixed income housing for older adults. I don't. I think that there is a place for it in any community. I have a concern, however, that we have a huge amount of rentals, and frankly, Monroe has struggled with maintaining the rentals that we have. I don't know that we need any more rental units of any kind until we can effectively manage the rentals that we have. We're understaffed, we're underinterested, and as such, we are under-maintained. And this creates a very bad impression of what Monroe appears to be to others outside of it. And I think that if we cannot maintain the rentals that we have, while the idea of having something instead of nothing sounds great, that sometimes if that something can't be maintained by the community, it's better to have nothing. And the other thing is if we continue to draw in fixed income, low income communities, we're not going to draw the kind of businesses that we're seeing coming into Waxhaw, Indian Trail, Matthews, and the surrounding communities. We are bleeding out good businesses. We don't have a Starbucks on the east side. We don't have a Panera Bread in Monroe. We don't have a Hobby Lobby. We don't have all of the businesses that are a draw because of people with growing income. We don't have great breweries that draw young people who are just entering the work community and who want to move here. I think we need to look at a better balance of what it is that we're bringing in here, and I think we need to learn how to take care of the things that we have that are struggling so that we can become the community that I think Monroe should be. At one point, Monroe was the crown jewel of Union County. I don't think we should give that away to Waxhaw by allowing them to draw the businesses that are drawing in the money that Charlotte helps to maintain or to grow, because I think Waxhaw just got a grant from Charlotte for growth. I think Monroe needs to be, as the county seat, the crown jewel of the entire county, and I'm not sure that we're in a position to do that right now, and I would like to see us look into these projects with greater detail and how we can help make these things better for everybody and make it more balanced. Thank you.
Ma'am.
I agree.
Ma'am, do you ever have anything good to say about Monroe, North Carolina?
You know what? I do, actually.
I'd like to hear it.
But let me tell you something then, if we're going to bring this up. Sunday night, I was in an accident where I was darn near killed. And you know what my neighbors had to say when I hit because we have fine quality neighbors here. They called me a mother for knocking out their light and wanted to shoot me because I had gotten into an accident. I think it's important for you, the longest sitting member on the city council, to take a drive around Monroe. Come sit on my porch. Don't just drop off football players, but come and see what those of us who are standing up here every single city council meeting and begging you to come and look at.
Ma'am, you don't like homeless shelter. We
I didn't
are
say-
we are a very successful community. The United States right now is going to more rental than they are home loans.
Good rental is what we're asking for. We're asking for well-maintained rental units. We're not asking for low income, that every single unit is low income. I would love to see rental units that draw the young people, engineers that I work with every day. And I have asked these guys to come and look at properties and they say, I wouldn't move here if I was dead, because they don't want to be surrounded by houses that are falling down. There is not one single rental unit on the east side right now that is maintained with any degree of efficiency. Can you name one? I want Monroe to be a place I can be proud of, to bring the sponsors that support my business, to bring the people that I work with. I can't bring the business owners of the business that I work for to where I live because they don't want to come.
Let's move on to something else.
But you know what?
Councilman Gonzalez.
I'm addressing the
He asked her a
question.
question.
And you basically said to me that I don't like Monroe. I want to love Monroe. I really do. But you know what? I'm starting to get the impression, since we're going to be honest here, that there's a lot of people who are perfectly happy being big fish in really small, dirty puddles. And it embarrasses me, and I think we can do better. Waxhaw is doing great. Indian Trail is doing great. Matthews is doing great. Why can't we? That's what I want for Monroe. I want a place that I'm not afraid to get out of my car to walk into my home. And I want a place where the Hispanics across the street don't have to be afraid about leaving their stuff out. That's what I want for Monroe. It has the potential to be great. So yes, I like Monroe. I want to love it. And I want you all to help me. Thank you.
All right. Okay, anyone else who would like to speak in favor? I'm sorry. Oh, well, we got to go with it. It's a public hearing. We'll recognize you at this time. If you will, the name and address for the record, please.
I'm Sheila Crunkleton, 107 Buck Hill Road, Monroe, right here in the city. I've lived in the city here for 30 years. It really bothers me to hear those comments because while I know some of them are true, I love Monroe. I have invested a lot of my time and effort in this city as part of the downtown board, as somebody who really wants to make a difference here, and I see us making a difference. I really do. I think a project like this, as a nonprofit director, I hear the need every day. A $30,000, $35,000 income is not necessarily, while it's not the highest of incomes, it is not low income. That is an income level that certainly people that are retired, I'm approaching that 55 point, but not quite there. People that are retired that lose a spouse unexpectedly, that all of a sudden they're left at that level of income with their retirement, that don't know where they're going to go. They can't maintain their home. They can't do something. I am so excited to see a project like this where that is located because I know the problems that are located around that. This is an opportunity to start to fix some of those, just like moving into these neighborhoods is an opportunity to fix some of those problems. That's what we have to do. Monroe is a great town. Monroe is a fabulous town. I'm proud to live here. I'm proud to have my family here, and I'm going to continue living here. But we need projects like this because this need for 55 plus is so great in this community. And while we're not going to end up with both of them, I love the fact that this is not located in the downtown area, that is located outside of that. And while, yes, looking at the back of a food line may not be the prettiest, I'm pretty sure that when it all comes together, that's probably not what it's going to necessarily look like. But it is in an area that we need it. It's going to give these people the things around them that they need. And we need to look at positive changes. And in my opinion, this is a positive change. Thank you.
I just want to add one or two things, and then I'll recognize the other folks. We just like any other city. We got problems. We like any other city with growth. Nobody ever wants to stand up and say, well, this is what we've really done. And I've said this in other council meetings. Okay, we got a problem here, we got good things here and good bad things. We got the lowest unemployment rate in this area, and we've continued that for years and years and years. We had about 5%. We had an increase in industrial last year. Somebody had, how many million was it?
330.
The biggest we've ever had. We've got a great corporate center. Yeah, I've talked about this before. So everything is not blink in Monroe. We got the most concentrated aircraft in North Carolina in one area. Help me out, somebody, Lynn.
We are, for recruiting and retention in the aeronautical industry, we're number 1 in North and South Carolina, number 3 in the Southeast, and top 10 in the United States.
Allvac has just expanded now for about, what, 60 million?
75.
75 million right up here on the road. So yes, we've got some problems, but everything is not bleak. We can be better. Any community can be better. And that's what we want it to be better. But we're not closing the doors. We've had the largest growth in the past year that Monroe has ever had. So I just want to say, we're not closing the doors, but yes, we got problems that we can work on. All right, is anyone else who would like to speak? I see the hand. Sir, we recognize you.
I'm James Hughes. I live at 1104 Woodland Avenue.
Okay.
I'd speak in opposition to like the complex
Okay.
supposed to be being built. Like one thing I've actually recognized, is the fact that Monroe's a good place. We have, it's very good in aerospace, which is a field that I hold dearly to my heart. I think it's mainly the area where it's the area where like that's really a huge problem is in the historic district because so many rental properties are taking over. Like I said, these rental properties aren't being maintained that much. At the complex or so, for example, I called the police department last night. Had 6 gunshots fired from AK-47.
You live where down again?
1104 Woodland Avenue. But had 6 gunshots fired from AK-47. And I know AK-47 sound very well because that's the type I used to shoot a whole lot when I was in training. I called the police department, they couldn't catch no one. It's been going on for the past 2 months now. Now, how do you expect the police department when they can't catch a person, who's been firing gunshots within 2 miles or so from the police department to be watching a complex that holds at least over 150 people? The main problem is, they say they have no security at all. Our police department is already understaffed as it is during the night shift, especially. How can you expect to protect, not only the area, which is the hugest problem, the crime, the historic district. For example, Mrs. Even said, that she can't even get in an accident without having, someone be a good neighbor and actually help, see if she's okay. Instead, they want to start a fight. I think the crime is the biggest problem here, and it's not a good environment to actually put another complex in to overwhelm us. Also, I just think that it's not, why aren't they going to Weddington or Waxhaw or somewhere else? The fact is, the neighborhood is not the best place to be placing elderly people. How can you actually go ahead and walk at a slow pace, without being scared of actually being mugged or something like that? Especially, we've had an increase in car thefts, I know, and right now, like I said, even gunshots has gotten so bad, people are not afraid to deal drugs out in the street anymore. They've gotten more nerve to actually go ahead and just do a drug deal in the middle of a parking lot. On Highway 74 especially, I actually work at a gun store. I've seen people actually go ahead and do drug deals right in front of the place, where it's right near a highway patrol station and in front of Monroe police officers, who are right on the other side of the parking lot. So I just don't feel safe knowing that 150 people, especially, and it's over that, can actually be protected by not only the police department be overwhelmed, and overwhelm us, the city, and our budget. And I just don't feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll close the public.
Bob, you've had one lady that...
Oh, Harvey? Yes, ma'am. Well, now, I've got you also signed up for a public
I
comment.
wasn't going to talk at this one, but I have to come up and say something.
Okay, I just want you to know I wasn't ignoring you.
No, no problem. My name is Mary McMahon. I live at 107 West Houston Street. My concern, I feel like this is getting sold as a elderly project, and as Ms. Duncan said, gosh, I could live there next year. I hate to say that. My problem is I work with the elderly, and I feel like these apartments, if they truly are elderly, low-income apartments, are there elevators? Are they thinking about the bathrooms? Because most elderly, if they're gonna age in place, are gonna have to have that capability in the apartment. To me, it doesn't seem like these are gonna be designed like that. Are they gonna be wheelchair accessible? Are they gonna have walk-in showers? Those are gonna cost a little bit more money to construct. So I think it's more of a low income, and I think a lot of us coming up here to speak, that's our concern, is the low income part.
And I don't know the answer to that, but we can get it, but I
I
would
think
think
it
so
should
since
be
it's
tabled
federal.
until more discussion.
Can you answer that question?
There will be an elevator in the center of the building.
Can you come up to the microphone, please?
Yes.
There will be an elevator in the center of the building. It will meet all accessible requirements by North Carolina and whatever local code there is. 10% of the units will be designed for mobility impaired, and 2% will be designed as well for hearing and visual impaired as well.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor, I'd like to just make a comment. You know, I think that there's a need for this, and I also sense a lot of frustration from people that are out here today that's come up and talked. And, you know, we have been trying to work with the Historic District. We have been responsive to Historic District needs. I know that we strengthened the ordinance, increasing the bulky pickup to twice weekly from once a week. We've done that in the past year. So some of the things we are actively trying to do. We also put increased civil penalties to the residents and landlords for putting the waste out before the pickup. So we have been doing that. We hired an additional code enforcement officer specifically to deal with these issues. And the police presence has increased as complaints rise, and many of these interactions occur here at the meetings. As soon as you say something, we have our police officers. They do react to that, and they do come and have an increased presence in the Historic District. And you know, we've been working with you. We've tried to, for example, the Laney Lee House. We've been working very diligently with that and with the church, and that's on go. We've been having some meetings. Of course, that we did have a committee that's no longer in force, but there is been progress there. So we're just waiting for that. So there's some things that we are doing. We are actively trying to help. I know that, you know, you can wave a magic wand and everything can happen all at once. It just doesn't work that way. We've got to work together, and we need to work together positively and to come up and make some recommendations, some suggestions, and we work at it as a group and not adversarial. We're not going to get anywhere being adversarial. So, you know, let's look at everything and to make sure that we know before we say anything that the city is being responsive, and we are trying to do some things for you. So, like I said, let's work together instead of having all the negativity. And with that, I'm going to make a motion.
The mayor still needs to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Well, I want to add something too, Mayor.
Yeah.
But whoever wants to make a comment, go ahead.
If you come to the podium, please give your name and address. We have to have that for the record, ma'am.
Jennifer Smith, 109 West Houston Street. What would it take to change minimum code to maximum code? Is there any way of getting that done?
State law.
I think that would alleviate a lot of issues.
I think that's a state law, but I'll let the attorney answer that.
That would be correct. Well, the city is permitted to have a minimum housing code, but the question is, when you say minimum code to maximum code, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the building code? Are you talking about the housing code? What is specifically you're talking about? And in many cases, the city is only permitted to have a minimum. It cannot have necessarily a maximum. We are creatures of the state. We have our enabling legislation from the state, and the General Assembly would be the ones that would have to say you could go to X degree. But it's also dependent on what exactly you're looking at, because when you say we need a maximum code involving what?
Well, just for housing, for some of these rental properties, instead of putting up a plywood door that meets minimum requirement, you know, you need an actual door that's what I'm talking about, is to hold some of these landlords responsible to making these homes. We have some beautiful homes in the historic district that are rental properties, that the landscaping, people pull up in the front yard. We've had to fight to keep that from people pulling up in the front yard. No landscaping. They don't have to paint the house. And here we are as responsible citizens trying to make our properties look beautiful, invite people to come into the historic district when you've got somebody right next door to you that doesn't care, and they're not held accountable for it at all. That's what I mean by maximum, to strengthen it, put some teeth into it. So, you know, they're not going to buy these properties at $50,000, $60,000 and just stick somebody in there that doesn't care about it. They're not homeowners. They don't care about it at all. I just wonder what we could do. If there's, who do we need to appeal to? What higher court do we need to go to?
I'll say that what the city code says is a policy decision ultimately by the council. And you know, it will be for council to advise us what it wants the code to say, consistent with state law. And I'm happy to discuss that at any time with the council, depending on what its feelings are on those issues.
Well, are there something that, are there more teeth that the state will allow us to do?
Not necessarily, Mayor, not necessarily. One of the issues that we have noticed is a continued attack on municipal authority by the General Assembly.
Well, I know that. They take most of our rights away, but that's what I'm saying. The state maintains a lot of this. Is that what you said?
What I'm saying is that the state has a lot of control over it. However, when someone suggests that the standards aren't being met, the question is, has that been called into for code enforcement? Is it under enforcement? Has an inspection been performed? It is one thing to note, I've seen this, has that been put in the process from an enforcement standpoint? Because we have sanctions and the ability to inspect and enforce the minimum housing code. And also if there's a building code issue, we have building inspectors that deal with that. So the question is, have those been made, has the city's code enforcement department been made aware of the issue? That would be the thing I would suggest. And then we can also look in to determine where are the problems? What is it that needs to be shored up? And what we don't have when you're hearing any of this is, where is it there's an issue? What is it that's not happening? And have data on that. And we can, as a staff, work with you on those issues.
The house that you're speaking of, has it been reported, or do you know? I mean, the violation.
We've done lots of reporting, haven't we?
The answer is that yes?
Yes.
Is that the house you're talking about has a plywood door?
No.
Where is the house located with a plywood door?
That was something for crawl space door that I spoke about, which I actually have, when I get up to talk about.
Oh, she's going to discuss it when she comes up.
Oh, okay, she's on the list. Okay, I've got a list, okay. Anything?
So there is something that could be done? Is that what you were saying?
What I'm saying is that what we don't have council, I'm addressing my client, city council, that what we would have to see is what's being enforced, what are the issues, you know, for example, if there's someone suggesting that there's a inappropriate door, has that been reported? If it has, then from our process, what's being done on it? And then we can look and see what are the issues. It is easy to say, this needs to be changed to this. Is there truly a problem that needs to be dealt with? So it's, I don't think as a council you're asking us to look for a solution and search for a problem. I think you prefer us to solve actual problems. But we are happy to, if you ask, and I'll defer to the manager because this is now far more in his purview than mine, as to what, from a code enforcement standpoint, and then we can look at the tools that we currently have, how are those being used, and then what can take place at that point.
How are we tracking these calls? Who are you calling to report these to?
Code.
Okay, so you call Lisa? Is she calling code enforcement?
No, I didn't call her, but I mean, okay, just like an example. I took a picture of the house that is next to hers, next to Mary, okay? The house, the people were pulling right up in the front yard. I actually went down and said, you cannot do that. You can't pull up in the front yard. And the person didn't speak very clear English, and she said, well, can you show me something that says I can't park here? And I said, well, it's just the law. You can't park in front of in the yard like that. And so we were told by code to take a picture of it, which I did. Every time somebody was out there, we would take a picture and take it down. And I think they were putting some things on their windows or whatever else to tell them, but it continued on.
Who have you turned these pictures into, ma'am?
Well, I showed Mr. Brett.
Okay.
Mhm.
So are we tracking these calls, Doug? Yes.
Mayor, are we still on a public hearing?
We are, and
Yes.
Mayor, actually, I was going to suggest that you may want to get through the comments that are related to this particular rezoning before you end up in a discussion over general housing issues, because you've now gone far afield. And I would suggest that
agree.
perhaps that you find if there are any final speakers on this rezoning.
Well, I
and
was
if
going to
there are
circumvent
not,
some of this a while ago when I
close the
got
public
called
hearing
down,
and-
but go ahead, sir.
Sir.
Ma'am, we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
I was trying to circumvent
Well,
this a little.
let me just say this. I will table my comments so that we can get back to the current issue, but I'm going to bring some comments up here a little bit later.
All right. We're ready for, this is a public hearing and.
Yes, sir, I was just going to ask you.
Yes, sir.
You were on that way. You
Yeah,
got it.
I'm heading that way.
It's just awfully late, Mayor.
All right, this is a public hearing, and do I, council have any more questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Actually, you need to close the public hearing, Mayor, that's right.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing at this time. Now, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve. The reason is because I agree Monroe needs this. This is separate and apart from what we're going to discuss afterwards, because we will go back and discuss the issues in the historic district. But I'm going to make a motion that we approve this.
I'll second the motion.
And can your motion also approve that you adopt the resolution?
Yes, Mujib?
Yes.
Say it.
I'm just here to.
I'm adding. This is better than Comedy Central, isn't it? I mean, you could have stayed home and watched TV and it wouldn't have been this much fun. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor by raising your right hand, please. All in favor. Any opposed? Okay, that'll pass. Okay, we have another public hearing on item 13, zoning text amendment. Who's handling that? Doug? Okay.
Good evening. This is a text amendment to section 156.224, title amendments of the zoning ordinance. And basically what this does, the legislature back in the fall of 2015 removed the protest petition process from the state statutes. And the protest petition, basically, some adjoining property owners could file a protest in opposition to a rezoning, and which would require the council to have a simple majority vote or a 3/4 vote. And so they took that ability away from property owners to be able to do that. And so what we're doing is we're just removing this from the ordinance because we didn't want confusion of being in the ordinance but not being a allowed process. And that's what this text amendment involves. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Okay. Council have any questions? Apparently not. Thank you, sir. This is a public hearing. Is anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of the text amendment? Hearing none, is anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor by raising your right hand, please. Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Item 14, federal assistance to firefighters, fire prevention grant. Mr. Fowler, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council. I'd like to bring before you tonight an opportunity for us to apply for a federal grant. This is under the Department of Homeland Security, the Assistance to Firefighters Grant, Fire Prevention area. We're requesting to apply for a grant. It's approximately $11,550 for a robotic fire prevention prop to teach children about fire safety. It is a 95% federal funding if we receive the grant, 5% local. So if we do receive it, it will cost us approximately $575. This item has not been to the Public Safety Committee. The grant application period opened in the 1st of April and closes May the 6th, so it has not been before Public Safety. Staff's recommendation is that you grant authorization to apply for the grant. So I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Okay.
I'm going to make the motion to approve, and I'd just like to say, Chief, that I think you and your department do an awesome job of applying for grants. And let me just say, any time we get a grant, we're saving the taxpayers money, and y'all do a fantastic job of applying for grants. So I'm going to make a motion that we approve that.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? No opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Item 15, Monroe Tourism Development Authority. Pete, I recognize you, sir.
Mayor, council, interesting situation with this. Hopefully you've taken a look at the staff report. Obviously, we've purchased the Science Center building at 318 East Franklin. Our next step was to replace the roof. We put it out for bid, 3 bids, $140,000, $131,000, and $62,000 or $65,000. So we took the 65, which was apples to apples with the work, scope of work and services. Contract was signed with the company. Permit was obtained and work started. Contractor asked me to meet him down there, which is usually not a good thing, and informed us that they had made a mistake in the process. They made an $80,000 error in the process and was asking what we can do. They returned our check, they stopped working. What they had done was use a template and not check the bottom line. Completely their fault. We consulted with the city manager, city attorney, what are our options? One, we could hold this company to the contract, and more probable lead into litigation that could be ongoing. 2, we could offer to meet them in the middle somewhere, still be well below the next highest bidder, not have to go through the bidding process again, not have to issue re-permits and all that fun stuff. Or 3, mutually agree to tear up that contract and basically tell this company that you're not a responsible bidder anymore, and we're more than likely not going to do any business with you. Tourism Development Authority chose the second option, to meet them halfway and to add an additional $40,000 to the contract to help them mitigate their loss. They are a very reputable company that has done probably 6 or 7 projects with the city over the past 10, 15 years. They are doing another project with the city right now, and they are amenable to do the project at a loss if we're able to do the $40,000 additional. This would be tourism capital dollars. The Tourism Development Authority has already approved up to $40,000 additional for this, bringing the total cost of the project to about $105,000. And again, the next highest bidder was about $135,000. So it's still roughly $30,000 lower than the next bid. If we were to rebid it, I feel certain that those bids would come in at $130,000 to $145,000. So before you, as in all capital tourism projects, you guys have the final say on the capital. This did not go to general services, kind of time sensitive. We would like to move it. That's why we're bringing it to the full council. We're happy to answer any questions you
Why
have.
is it time sensitive? When is the general services meet again?
The committee meets again on Thursday, and we just, the roof it's open with all the rain. Not that it could do too much damage to the inside, but we want to get some, if we are going to use this company again, we want to get them back up there as soon as possible to get that roof replaced.
By Thursday, whenever the committee meets, most of the rain's supposed to already be gone, so whatever damage is going to occur has already occurred.
And that's completely fine, Councilman Jordan, and then we would just put it on the consent agenda for next week, whatever council decides.
I don't know, I would feel a lot more comfortable if this went before the committee, and the committee had an opportunity to ask questions that we don't have the information for in front of us. Okay. The committee, they were the ones who have looked at what the roof needed. They're the ones who guided the process thus far and made recommendations to the city council. I think that's a structure that has served us well, and I would hope that we would continue to use that structure.
Mr. Jordan, I just wanted to respond to that. I was asked if it could bypass the committee because we were meeting Thursday and it would have to go on the next consent agenda, which would have been in 2 weeks. And so I was asked by the finance director if we could put this on the agenda.
So that's why we're coming to the full city council instead of being on the consent agenda. But putting it out 2 weeks, you know, we would like to get it started, but again, completely your discretion, sir.
I just feel there are issues here that are going on, Mayor, that our attorney needs to be aware of, because we're looking at some other downtown projects, and we can't afford these kind of missteps.
We are aware of it. In fact, when Mr. Ovanek became aware of it, I think one of his first visits was to my office with a copy, with the actual check returned by the contractor in one hand, and he explained the situation, and we talked about the specific options that we had at that point in time. So we were aware of the situation and understood what had happened, and that laid out, as noted in the staff report, the options that could be considered. And so we were aware of it immediately. Once Mr. Ovanek became aware of it, in all seriousness, I think I was probably one of his first visits that morning. So we were aware of it, sir. But we of course recognize that it is council's discretion to determine should the matter be referred to the committee, or should it be acted upon here, or whatever council feels is appropriate.
I make a motion that it be referred back to the committee, so that if this contract is going to be used again, even though they've got several projects going on with the city, I just think that someone needs to understand the full scope of this. And I just feel that the committee level would be where that could be determined. So I would make a motion that to go back to the committee and come back to the city council recommendation.
All right, I have a motion for it to go back.
Wait just a minute. I'm going to ask Ms. Strickland. Lisa, do you have anything to add to this?
No, it's up to council. It's fine if it's your desire to push it back to the committee. I think, like Pete said, it was just in an effort to move the contract and the work along.
Najib, was there an issue with your office on this?
No, what I would note that what we have said is that we laid out the options, and then from a timing standpoint, you know, the manager's office was involved in that as well, is that this item was, I mean, Pete, do you recall what the date was, because I don't have handy, when this issue came to light? And so I think at that point it was decided to put it on the agenda, and it met the regular agenda deadlines. And I was not involved in any discussions as to whether or not it would be before general services, but so we're at least, I think, a couple of weeks past when this originally happened. And then even if it goes to general services on Thursday, it won't be back until the meeting on the 17th. So that is a particular issue. As noted in the report, we recommended that there were multiple options. You could hold the contract with the contract, work on a mutually agreed upon change order, or send the thing out to be rebid, which would be an option that would then mean it would delay the project significantly. So those options were put out there. The second option is what they wish to move forward with and recommend to you, but it is whatever council feels is appropriate.
And the second option again was?
Was to do the change order.
Basically a change order for $40,000. That would cover the cost of the materials, and the company would wind up eating the cost of the labor.
And tourism, that's tourism money you talking about?
Tourism capital dollars.
And Mayor, one other item to note is that the value of the change order was far less than the second lowest bidder. That was, I think, a consideration where if they wanted essentially a change that brought it to where you were suddenly within a very short distance of the second lowest bidder, we recognize that would have been an issue.
Who's going to do the inspections on this to make sure that we are getting a quality product with $30,000 that they're eating? Who's gonna inspect that and make sure that we're getting a quality product?
Whatever's in the contract that we signed originally, within the scope of work, doesn't change. It's gonna be inspected by, I believe, Tom Brown, our building inspector, per our policies and our permit process.
I would agree with Councilman Jordan. If we have a system in place with our committees, and I, in most instances, do like it and would like to stick with it. However, we do have a full council here, and this does seem to have some degree of immediacy. As we have a roof, it has a hole in it. And I believe that we should try to attend to this as soon as possible. I did have a question about this being a reputable builder, when in fact, somebody can miss a number that bad. But
I agree.
But the fact that he brought his check back before he even
Yes,
cast it, made me think a little more as well. So, having said all of that, it is my opinion that that we should move ahead with recommendation of staff.
I withdraw my motion, so we can go ahead and move forward, Mayor.
You withdraw, okay.
Yeah.
All right, have a motion. Any other questions?
No, you don't have a motion.
He just made a motion.
That wasn't a motion, that was just a comment. Mr. Jordan had a motion on the table.
He withdrew it.
And okay, and so I will make the motion that we accept our staff's recommendation.
I thought that was motion you said, I think we would have moved along with it, so just cleared my page.
And you have a second, Mayor?
I have a motion, now do I have a second?
You do. Mr. Anderson seconded the
I
motion.
have a motion, a second, any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand, please. Any opposed? Would you raise your, I can't see who. All right, there's one opposed, is that correct? That's what I got, one opposed, okay. That'll pass. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
Item 16, presentation of the budget message. Mr. Larry.
Mayor, I recommend that the board accept the budget message into the public record as if it has been read in its entirety, otherwise I can read through the budget message.
Second, I'll make the motion, excuse me.
You called it.
It's been a long night. I'll make that motion that we accept it.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. You got one opposed, Mr. Gordon. Sorry about that, sir. Move right along. Item 17, funding of Union County Volunteer Fire Department. Larry, you handling that, or who's handling it?
It's on the agenda for you all to discuss.
Okay.
We can give you an overview if you want. But
Yeah, if you give us the overview, or one of you, please.
certainly.
Last week, the county commissioners.
Okay, by way of background, the topic is discussion of the countywide hybrid rate for fire service funding. The fire service funding has periodically been studied by county staff over the last 10 years or so. The countywide tax proposal emerged last year in the neighborhood of about 4.5 cents. However, the implementation of it was delayed, and if council recalls, you adopted a resolution objecting to the tax burden, the added tax burden on the city. And I believe the resolution was adopted on or about September of 2015. There was a stakeholders group that was formed, and we were invited to provide a city representative, and Chief Fowler was that representative, and if needed, he can provide some insights of that stakeholders group, what they, their meeting progress, and what they proposed. They met through November of 2015, I believe. Correct? Okay. The committee product included identifying multiple options, such as new tax districts, fire fees, countywide tax, and/or combinations thereof. The proposal that the Union County Board adopted, I believe it was week before last, involves a countywide fire tax increase that does not hold harmless property owners in Monroe. The proposed rate is 4.45 cents. and is projected to be level for 3 years. Proposed effective date is July 1st.
The mayor and I went and spoke to the county commissioners when this came up at their meeting, and we spoke against it. We said that we have a fire department here in the city who provides excellent service, and we felt like that it would be unfair to tax our residents for fire tax for departments in the county when we had our own fire department. Apparently, they did not listen to us, Mayor. So we also came back, there was a resolution where we did not support this tax, and they didn't listen to that either. So here we are again tonight. So we need to let people know, the residents know, that this fire tax is going to affect the city of Monroe and our residents and our taxpayers, and your taxes are going to go up to pay for fire departments in the county. Now, you know, as the mayor and I both, public safety servants, we certainly support fire and police. However, it's just not fair that we have our own fire department and that we have to fund other departments in the county.
Well, I agree.
McGee, can we not take them to court?
Let me get that a minute. If I remember correctly, and I think I do, it's 4.35, is that correct, Chief? 4.35 tax increase for our citizens in Monroe. And as Ms. Duckins said, we already got a fire department, and we got a great fire department. We got a good fire department. And I think as far as the county is concerned, they've got great volunteer fire departments. I know from past experience working with them, and we still work with them to it. But I just think it's unfair for the citizens of Monroe to be taxed another 4.35% to help fund a fire department that's in the county. Of course, I realize the city of Monroe is in the county, but we've got our own department that the residents of the county government is not sending us any money. So what this means, and I'm going to quote some stuff that I heard that I believe to be right, so I can stand to be corrected, and I want to really underline that. I understand that it was said that they needed to raise 2-point-something million dollars. Now, Ron, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you remember anything like that? Is that they would need to raise 2-point-something million?
I don't have this exact.
Okay, I don't want to put you on the spot, but that's my understanding. I want you to, I'm going to quote what I believe to be right, and I think I am. If that's the case, the citizens of Monroe is going to spend over $1 million in Monroe. And according to the information I have from the Weddington mayor, they're going to be spending $1 million. So if that's true, and I want to understand, I don't know that I'm exactly right on my figure, but if it is true, the city of Monroe and Weddington is going to raise that $2.whatever million. And again, I'm not against good fire protection. The county's got the greatest fire department going in this county, and I'm sincere about that. I just don't think it's right for the residents of the city, and I'm saying it again, to be taxed another tax of 4.35 to help fund that. We've got our department, we've got a good department, and I think that that's where it ought to stay. If they need to fund it, that's their baby, and they need to fund it. I don't think we need to. That's all I got to say.
What are we gonna do about it?
Well, we come into that, I guess. Anybody else want to speak?
I just want to say that this in no way has anything to do with the relationship between the firefighters. The firefighters work very well together. The county helps us, and we help them. We run mutual aid back and forth all the time. But the reality is our citizens should not have a 4.35 tax increase when none of that money will go to benefit the city in any way. The money is going to fund the county departments. And that's where we're coming from, is we don't feel like our citizens should ultimately be double taxed, because you all already pay a fire tax. You pay taxes for the city fire departments. And 4.35% would be a significant increase on everybody's tax bill. So we've got to look at ways to challenge what the county is proposing. And I guess that's where we need to go now, is how do we challenge it?
Ms. Anthony, I think had something.
Oh, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
What are our options?
Okay. You're on.
No, I think all I can do is answer the question that Councilmember
Lynn had a
Fryer was
question,
asking.
I think.
And it was, can we, the issue is, we would like to obviously research that question, because what we can tell you is that the county is doing an action that they are permitted to do. For us to challenge it, we would have to be able to find a procedural or a legal defect, and we are concerned that may not exist. We will take a look at it and report back to you if there are any options from that perspective. Although understanding that one of the things is, even if, you know, if we are, there's no way for us to be able to tell you right now if we're even going to be successful. But we would want to take a look at that issue. Your other options are, I think you've communicated to the county commission your desire to see this not be approved in a prior resolution. And if that is still the sense of the council, because I believe that was prior council that may have made that decision.
No, that was us.
This was this one, I can't remember the timing. Regardless, it's if this council had said that, that's still your wishes. You communicate that with the hope that then the commission may hear you, which of course I think the Mayor Pro Tem noted they did not listen to you before, perhaps they will not listen to you now. I can't say here what the viability of a legal challenge would be. That would be something that we would further discuss with you in a closed session, but after we've had an opportunity to look at that. So I would appreciate it if you would allow us time to look at that. I believe we do have time, because the county, if they vote on it, it would not be something that would come into effect until July. And but we would like some time to be able to look at this and report back to you, and then we can discuss those options, legal options, in a closed session at a later time. But otherwise, you have other options where you can communicate with your counterparts at the county commission. And I understand that the manager has discussed this with the county manager, and then those talks can continue to go on as well. And I can discuss it with the county attorney to note that we have some concerns as well.
Well, I'd say July just around the corner, and everybody knows that. Days click off fast, and July just around the corner. And of course, you're gonna research it and come back to us, and we kind of see what our options are, if anything. But we got about 35,000 residents can make some calls also, if that's what, you know, if you get an opportunity to speak to the commissioners, you know, I would say, you know, in a very nice way, you know, ask them if they would not reconsider this. It'd be my say. Is anybody else got anything you want to say on this? Ron, you recognize?
If I could just add one thing, and the manager alluded to, I did serve as our representative on the committee, the stakeholders committee, and there were a lot of meetings, a lot of things discussed. This was not the option that was recommended by the committee. The option that I suggested through the committee was that do a countywide fire service tax, fire service district tax, excluding the city of Monroe, since Monroe is the only one that provides their own fire protection. That option was not recommended by the committee. There was a different option recommended by the committee, but the one that the manager outlined a few minutes ago was not the one the committee recommended. So just wanted council to know that.
Okay.